The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Okay, good evening everyone, and we'll call this regular council meeting of March 14th to open to order. And under presentations this evening, we're pleased to have Marie Calder. So Marie, we'll let you get right into it.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. I am representing the Forever in the Clouds 75th Memorial Committee, of which there are 5 members. And Allison Holzer is an Estevan member. The others are not from town. And I'll just give you a quick little background. Oh dear, I can hear my, I don't know why I'm echoing.
Oh, that's okay, Marie. We can hear you good.
Okay. Okay, so we had a horrific accident just outside of Estevan at the old airport. September 15th, 1946. So of course that was following World War II. There were 20 pilots and 1 mechanic, 1 LAC, leading aircraftman. So they were all with the RCAF. Some of them had continued to serve after the war, some came back in to serve. In this case, they were with a squadron that was called a ferry squadron, number 124. And this squadron's job was to return airplanes to the United States. These are trainer airplanes. In the case of Estevan's, their task was to return the Cornells down to the US. Britain had borrowed those planes during the war. We needed to train pilots, and the safest place was over here in Canada. So now the job was to get them back. And all 21, so they flew planes down to Fargo and sometimes Minot, and then they fly back together on what they called a Dakota, which we know is a DC-3. And on the return flight on September 15th, 1946, in the morning, it's a Sunday, the plane crashed, killing them all. Now, for some reason I knew about this, even though I didn't live in Estevan until 1978, but I'm not sure how I knew about it. I kind of think my dad had told me about it, but I did know about it. And when we were building the Soldier's Tree, Lester Heintzman and myself got talking about this accident and realized virtually nobody knew about it. And we decided to change that. So we hired the sculptor who had used chainsaw to build the Soldier's Tree. We hired him to build a monument, which I think stands about 22 feet high. I hope you have seen it. If not, it's down at Lester Heintzman's acreage, which is south of town. And we did that because we felt that we really wanted not just people of Estevan, but Canadians to know that we don't forget our soldiers. So we're in the process of trying to build this, however, we don't have all the photos, and the RCAF out of Moose Trail was only able to give us 17 of the photos. So what I did, I actually had to find these photos, first of all. And during the time I was researching that, I decided to write about it in my 25th book in the Other Side series. So I have 30 published books. 4 are children's books. There's a 25-book series, and now there is also a book dedicated solely to these 21 airmen. It's called Together Forever in the Clouds. So I wasn't planning to write a book dedicated to them until Global TV had done a documentary, and a man named Jack Perry from Vernon, British Columbia saw that documentary and contacted me, and he was the son of one of these pilots. While we were on the phone, he was emailing me pictures of the mass funeral, which took place in Estevan, and photos of his dad and so on, and I realized they need their own book. But we wanted to go further. I now have a little team of mostly strangers helping me find the families. I am legally blind, so the research for me was sometimes painful. But I had people jump on board, people I didn't even know. And we found all 21 families. So we decided that wouldn't it be great if we could have a celebration for them? And we had planned it for 2021, but we all know what happened. COVID intervened and it wasn't possible. So now it's 2022. July 8th and 9th are the 2 days we are planning. We also built a cairn, and I want to thank City Council for your contribution, your enthusiasm. I'm getting that again. And so I want to thank you, and I want to thank the RM of Estevan as well as SaskPower, because without the three of you, I don't think there would ever have been a cairn built. So it's there forever to memorialize, and it's at the crash site. So we've done that, but we want to have the celebration for not just the families. I mean, obviously they're very important, but for the community, because when the accident happened in 1946, Estevan did their step up to the plate. They even housed, they billeted widows, new widows, and mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters, because we didn't have much for hotel accommodations, and we had 150 RCAF personnel kind of all of a sudden are in Estevan. So the city of Estevan was absolutely I have to say I'm very proud of how they responded. So the city of Estevan, the community around Estevan in 1946 did their best to alleviate some of the pain. And now it's time to celebrate these lives, because over the course of the years previous to the monument, which we call Forever in the Clouds, and to the cairn and to the books, they really had nothing to mark this event. And many of them told me that they came to Estevan looking for something and didn't find anything. So here we are, we're planning this, and we had applied for grants from both the provincial and the federal. And unfortunately, those don't look like they're forthcoming. So we are going to be launching a sponsorship campaign. I'm sure you're going to see and hear about that in the very near future. In addition to all of this, which was kind of for me the icing on the cake as a creator, I don't know how this happened, but I wrote a song, and it's called Together Forever in the Clouds. I'm in Florida, and we have a male quartet here. They're just 4 guys that like to sing together. The music, although I'm no musician, I had a tune in my head that went with the lyrics, and I plunked it out finger by finger, because that's all I can manage. And our chorus director is a genius with music, and she actually created from me, from what I had in my head, she took it out, and we now have sheet music, and we have a piano recital without voices at this time. And my purpose of getting these men to do this was so that I can share that this summer. We have 2 days of events, and we are still finalizing the itinerary. We are hoping to have the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan Museum in Brandon, Manitoba are offering to bring World War II airplanes out here. The Cornell is one of them, and that of course is what our boys were returning to the US. So we are hopeful that, of course, we do have to raise funds for this, but we're hoping to get the Cornell, possibly the Harvard and the Tiger Moth, and people can book rides with them. That's just one of the many things we're planning to do. We plan to have a banquet. We have plans, and we were hoping we'd have a grant, but that's not looking so good. But that's okay, we'll raise the funds, and Estevan is going to be now a place of celebration for families and for anyone and everyone interested in history, interested in Estevan's history, interested in aviation. I think we're going to have a fantastic event, and I didn't think as city council members that you were necessarily aware of all this, and this is why I requested this meeting. I have no idea how much time I've used. You just should tell me when it's time to be quiet.
Well, it's coming up, Marie, but you're doing good. It's very interesting. We'll let you wrap her up here soon.
Okay, so like I said, our goal, our little committee's goal is to inform you, and we're hoping through media, etc., to get people on board in terms of participation. So, as I said, I wanted you to be apprised of what has and what is happening as city council members, because this is our city, our city. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Okay, thank you, Marie. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. Are you putting a sponsorship package together, or do you already have that out there?
We're finalizing a sponsorship letter, because it's just now that we learned we probably will not have any other funding.
Okay, any other questions from members of council? Okay, well, thank you so much, Marie, for coming to us today from the sunny state of Florida and giving us a brief overview. And we're all looking forward to July 8th and 9th for a couple days of festivities.
And I really, from the bottom of my heart, want to express my gratitude to the city of Estevan, because when we came to you and asked you for help with the cairn, you immediately jumped on board. There was no hesitation, and for that we are grateful. Thank you. That made that part of our job a lot easier.
No problem, Marie. We were happy to help.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Okay, sounds great. Take care and best wishes, and we'll talk soon.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we thank Marie for that. Moving forward with the council meeting, I guess perhaps City Clerk, I'll ask for a motion to accept that presentation, if council's okay with that. Councillor Ford, seconded by Councillor Clark. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, could we have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Seconded by Councillor Walliser. Any further questions or comments? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, could we have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the council meeting held on February 28th? Thank you. Councillor Cernick, seconded by Councillor Ford. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have none. Under written reports of committees, we have from the Southeast Transportation Planning Committee, the minutes of February 22nd, 2022. Could we have a motion, please, to accept those? Councillor Clark, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Cernick. All in favor? Carried? Yeah, okay, go ahead. Councillor Clark, you had some comments on that?
Just a quick comment, Your Worship. One of Judy Riddell, who's been sort of the admin for that since the start of the committee, I believe it's 25 years she's been involved, has just tendered her resignation, and just wanted to acknowledge that although I've only been on it a short time, that I think she will be greatly missed by the group, and that they are looking for a replacement from the area to do that. So thank you to Judy Riddell for all she's done, and I guess she's going to stay on to help out the new person until the end of June. So.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Clark. And I worked with Judy many years ago. She's very astute and very good at her job. So if you like, I'll send a letter on your behalf thanking her for her years of dedication.
Thank you very much. That would be awesome, Your Worship.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Cerny.
Thank you, Your Worship. Kind of a question for Councillor Clark, I guess. So the Roger Percy access was in the news, I seen last week there. Little write-up on that, and just the comments on it has a good candidate for the call for projects. Do you have any, can you explain more what call for projects means?
There's, thanks, Your Worship. So there is, in order to get some projects done and to make sure that they know that part of our process is to make sure that that we identify these. So the mayor of Roche Percy has sent me a letter that explaining the problems with the road. So I will now take that to the next meeting. I've already sent it on to the chair of that and said that we need to address that. So we'll put it as a call for project, and because it's a smaller area, and it'll be sent to the ministries of highway, and then they'll hopefully get it on a list to work through that. It doesn't mean it's going to get done, but it will get on a list, and we'll probably put our support behind that to say that there needs to be some activity on that. So we are, at the next meeting, it will be brought forward that his letter that was sent to myself and to the Southeast Transportation Committee. So hopefully we can promote that for them as part of representation on that committee. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a good point. Councillor Clark and I talked about that briefly. It's unfortunate they never did that roadway into Roche Percy. When they did the highway right by it, they had the asphalt, the price per cubic meter, all of that. But, you know, what can you say? It wasn't done, and now it'll be a lot more expensive. But they do need that fixed. I had the opportunity to drive it off and on during the summer, and boy, is that in rough shape. So hopefully, Councillor Clark, you're successful in getting some movement on that. Okay, moving further on written reports of committees, we have from the Estevan Public Library, the AGM of February 15th. Could we have a motion, please, for that? Councillor Walliser, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clark. All in favor? Thank you. Councillor Walliser, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Your Worship. We do also have their local library board meeting minutes from the February 15th meeting.
Okay,
If we
City
can
Clerk,
approve
could we
those.
include that as well, or would you like a separate motion? No, that's fine. Okay. Okay, thank you, Councillor Walliser. And everything's going good with the library?
Yes, Your Worship. The library now has the ability to rent out rooms for birthday parties or business events as another source of revenue for them. So if anybody's looking for a rental space, you can contact the public library.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think council had agreed to give them the money from that, right? God bless council for that. Okay, moving forward, under executive reports, we have from the Water Services Manager, the annual drinking water report. Thank you, Shane, for coming in tonight. I know you're a little bit under the weather, but it just shows the dedication of our managers that are willing to come to the meeting even when they're not 100%. So thank you, Shane, for that. So we've got the annual report on drinking water. I'll get the motion to accept this, and then we'll have some discussion. Thank you. Councillor Vroba, have we got a seconder? Thank you. I'll maybe go with Councillor Ford this time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. First off, any comments you'd like to make, Shane, on this report, and then we'll open it up to council.
For the most part, it was kind of an average year with COVID-19 happening. A lot of the maintenance was kind of pushed off due to parts not being in or just manpower available. I had the staff split shift for most of the year so that if one set of staff said, I could then take the other shift and then split them and still have proper coverage. For the most part, it was just emergency repairs that we did.
Okay, thank you, Shane. And I know now that we're getting water from Rafferty, our parameters are much better and things are coming along fairly well. So thank you for, I know it was a tremendous amount of work for you and your staff with the switchover and continuing issues to get it up to speed. So thank you for that. Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Walliser.
Thanks, Your Worship. In reading through the reports, nitrates consistently come quite a bit above the recommended target. Can you explain that a little more?
Sorry, nitrogen or?
Nitrates, nitrates, Shane. I know nitrates because I like wine, and they're in my wine. I don't know if they're bothersome or not, but go ahead if you could
Are
answer
you
that.
talking about the wastewater report or the drinking water?
Drinking water.
Drinking water,
Nitrates are within standard.
Just the recommended objective listed them as 45 and ours are 309. So I wasn't sure if we just measured it differently or,
Is that in both milligrams or 1 micrograms?
I really can't tell from the chart provided.
It might have been measuring in micrograms to milligrams. So that's all that would have been. The only thing we exceeded was our aluminum.
Thank you.
okay, no problem. Councillor Walliser, thank you, Shane. And the aluminum, I guess, did you want to discuss that now? The aluminum's a little high. I don't think it's serious health concerns, but did you want to explain that, Shane?
Yes, I can do that right now. So basically, since we switched over, the water's a lot cleaner. We went from very thick, dirty water to very clean water to treat. And sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean it's the easiest thing to do is to treat cleaner water. So the coagulation process is where we bind all the particles together that are in the water and try to drop them out in our clarifier. Now there isn't a whole lot to bind together. And the reason why you try to bind is to drop out the heavier stuff, but it's also to grab bacteria and other particles together to drop out. And through that process, when we're putting aluminum in, we're having a carryover that's going through our filters into our drinking water supply. When we became aware of the issue, we kind of changed around our dosages and got it from about 400 micrograms a liter down to 120 and 140. Now, this is an operational guideline, so it's not that it's not safe and it's not known to cause any harmful side effects. It's just a number they throw out there, but they figure it'd be good for us to issue a boil water or not suitable for consumption. It would have to hit 2,900. So I hired a contractor in who deals with coagulation, and we've come up with a couple of things to try, and then we're going to continue jar testing to see if we can solve the problem.
Okay, thank you for that, Shane, and appreciate your work in that regard. Any other questions on the drinking water? Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to say, Shane, we deal with Ecolab and they test our water quite frequently at Creighton Lodge, and he has just been praising the new water source in the last year. So kudos to what you are doing, and hopefully we can get that aluminum under control.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Vroba. Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. I know not too long ago the tenders were put out for chemicals for water treatment and stuff. Once you kind of maybe find a solution and possibly changing chemicals, will this break any of those contracts or tenders, or will it be kind of next year kind of thing?
Did you hear that, Shane?
Yes, I did. So with the chemical tender, I did not include alum because I actually switched over to a different chemical called ClearPack 180. Because Boundary Dam was a warmer water source, the water temperature really didn't dip under, 8 degrees in the wintertime. Now with us being on the different source of water, it drops down to about 2 degrees in winter, and regular alum doesn't work with water under 10 degrees. So I switched to a different chemical called ClearPack 180, and that is meant for colder water. So I was going to kind of see what kind of shook out from everything, and then see if I need to, change any of the infrastructure inside the water plant to accommodate a different chemical.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ford, that answers your question? Okay, thank you. Any other questions from members of council? Okay, if not, we'll move forward under executive reports. again, to the Water Services Manager, Annual Wastewater Report. Shane, did you want to say anything on that before we open the floor to council?
For the most part, we only had 2 times where the flow into the wastewater plant exceeded its capacity. Outside of that, it was a pretty normal operating year. We did have a blower because of a power surge that blew apart the variable speed drive, and we were able to get that fixed. And then we installed a heated pressure washer to decrease the ice between the 2 digesters in the wintertime. The other thing that happened is we did have a, when we took the plant offline and we were going to run into our overflow weir, some old piping that wasn't terminated properly, we leaked out about 4 million liters of raw water. We caught it relatively quickly, put a dam up and pumped it back. And then I repaired the outfall last year, redesigned it and replaced it.
Okay, thank you for those upgrades, Shane. And overall, it's running fairly good. Any questions or comments from members of council? Okay, did we get a motion on that, City Clerk? Oh, Councillor Frank.
Just one quick question for you. I know some cities, I think Saskatoon was doing some testing for COVID through wastewater. Have we done anything like that or sent any samples off anywhere for that kind of testing?
No one has approached us to do the samples. It's not something we can do in-house. If there was a corporation or university or someone who wanted, I'd have no problem sending off the samples.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Frank. Okay, with that, if there's no more questions, could we have a motion, please, to accept from the Water Services Manager the Annual Wastewater Report? Thank you, Councillor Frank, seconded by Councillor Cernick. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, again, from the Water Services Manager, we have the Water Quality Report for February of 22. Shane, any questions on that? Moving forward?
No, it was pretty standard.
Okay, yeah, you've got good explanation in there. Councillor Cernick?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just on the report, just a number I was kind of wondering. So it says we treated 91 million liters, pumped 88 million liters into the system. Do we know what number we actually sell of liters, though? Like, obviously, we're pumping 88 million into the system. How much are we recovering with being sold per liter?
So rough numbers are around 20% losses within the distribution system. That's due to flushing, water main breaks, and those sort of things. Okay,
thank you.
And that's pretty much an industry average, Councillor Cernick. So unfortunately, it seems like a lot, but
that was kind of, kind of thought it would be more, actually.
Oh, okay, good, good. Okay, any other further questions? If not, could we have a motion, please, from the Water Services Manager to accept the Water Quality Report for February of 22? Thank you, Councillor Cernick, seconded by Councillor Ford. All ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Again, from the Water Services Manager this evening, the Aluminum Carryover Report. Could we have a motion for that, please? And then we'll discuss it. Thank you, Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Walliser. Shane, did you have anything you wanted to say first, and then we'll open the floor?
Just the main thing, with the bridge to the water plant is an industrial facility. I know it doesn't seem like for the size of that, but a lot of the equipment, work, construction, everything we do requires heavy machinery, and we need that access to the water plant.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions or comments from members of council?
Are we doing the aluminum report or the bid report?
Yeah, we're talking right now, Shane, the aluminum report. Sorry.
Oh, aluminum report, sorry.
Yep.
I thought I covered that earlier.
Yeah,
no,
you kind of did, and that was my fault. I kind of jumped in there since we were talking about it. You probably don't have any further comments, so any questions on the aluminum from members of council? I think they're satisfied with your report. Did we get a motion on that? Yes. City Clerk, we did? Okay. I'm getting confused with all this water. Okay, moving forward, again, thank you, Shane, from the Water Services Manager. The bridge we've already talked about, and potable water. Did you have anything more on that? Okay. No, okay, we have a few questions. Go ahead, Councillor Clark, and then Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. When you talk about the bridge, is that a bridge that's owned by Highways or RM, or what's, when you talk about the bridge going out that you're bringing the equipment over?
I can answer that. It's a RM bridge, Councillor Clark. Councillor Ford?
Thanks, Your Worship. Back in 2020, the provincial and federal government announced that the Saskatchewan would be basically giving out $31 million for bridges, rural bridges in Saskatchewan. Has it been talked about with the RM to maybe apply for funding? I know the 21 and 22 funding season is closed, but I think the 23 and 24 will still be available. Has it been spoken with the RM about this?
That's a good comment, and I know we only get together every 2-3 months, every quarter roughly, council on council. So if you like, I can phone the Reeve or the administrator and let them know about that possibility. Absolutely. Thank you. And I think, City Clerk, we need a motion on that, right?
Yes, you do, please.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Councillor Verova, seconded by Councillor Frank. Thank you. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So I think we're watered out tonight. Shane, thank you so much for coming. I know you're under a bit of duress. Thank you for coming and answering all the questions. Please keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, under executive reports, we have from the building official the monthly report of February. Could we have a motion, please, to accept that? Councillor Cernick, seconded by Councillor Clark. Any questions on that? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next, under introduction of bylaws, we have none this evening. Public hearings and reports, we have none this evening. Giving notice, under proclamation, Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. Cerebral palsy is a term used to describe a lifelong physical disability that affects body movement, muscle coordination, and posture. And cerebral palsy is diagnosed in 1 out of every 400 Canadians and is the most common physical disability in children. Over 50,000 Canadians have cerebral palsy, and the goal of National Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month is to push for positive change in education programs, the healthcare system, and the job market to give opportunities to those living with cerebral palsy. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Roy Ludwig, Mayor of the City of Estevan, do hereby proclaim the month of March as Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month in the City of Estevan, and encourage all citizens to learn more about the impact of cerebral palsy on individuals and to examine how collectively we can improve the lives of those with cerebral palsy. Thank you, City Clerk. Could I have a motion, please, to agree with that? Thank you. Councillor Cernick, seconded by Councillor Ford. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Motions from committee this evening? We have none. Consideration of bylaws? We have none. Inquiries? Councillor Verova.
Thank you, Your Worship. This weekend, March 18th and 19th, there will be a fun spiel at the curling rink. I believe it's closed now to all the teams. Councillor Ford and myself will be representing City Council in that fun spiel. So we hope to have a great time. So starting Friday at 7 is when we curl. And I just want to invite everyone to feel free to come out and watch. have a drink up in the lounge and basically enjoy the weekend at the curling club.
Thank you, Councillor Vroba, and I know you and Councillor Ford will do well. I understand you've been honing up your skills, curling every night, taking the odd drink to get your liver ready, so that's good.
I only learned how to curl last month, and I've had 5 training sessions, so I feel really ready for this event.
Well, that's great. We used to curl in the minors, Bonspiel, a tremendous amount of fun, and it's a great game. It's a great game to watch, and I'd like to congratulate Gucci from Newfoundland. What a game with 3 players. Did you see that? That was absolutely amazing, and a great guy. What a game. Was that all you had? Yes. Okay, thank you, and good luck. I know you girls will do well. Did you need a coach?
No, but we might need a ride home.
Okay, well, I was willing to do the coach part. I wouldn't be much of a coach, though. But anyway, Councillor Clark?
Thanks, Your Worship. There will be a conflict with that, with the Bruins starting their playoffs. Just wanted to wish them the
Yes.
best on the 18th and 19th, their home game. And also the lighting change in the Affinity Place that looks like they finished, and it's really brightened up the rink, and I think they're completed.
I believe they're done.
But it looks great, and hopefully
Yeah.
we have a lot of use out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. And yes, please get your tickets. We're overjoyed. The Bruins came in first. As Councillor Clark said, the playoffs begin this weekend. Please come. It'll be very entertaining and great hockey. And yes, we'd like to thank the city manager and Rod and all of our staff. They did a tremendous job. They spent a couple days in there. They got all the yellow lights replaced. I believe, city manager, with LED. They're all nice and bright. They look great. Good job. Thank you, guys. Councillor Walliser?
Thank you, Your Worship. Wanted to remind the citizens of Estevan that the provincial government is responsible for the healthcare in our city. And we have 4 physicians in the last 2 weeks that have announced that they're closing their practice and relocating elsewhere. So it's going to be important that the government continues to hear about the benefit and value of local healthcare in Estevan.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Walliser. And I know I'm on the foundation, and that's all donated money, and we appreciate the donors very much. And we do put a lot of money into the healthcare. Even as you pointed out, it is a provincial responsibility. So hopefully the province can come to the table and help us out on the recruitment side. I know Greg Hoffert, the CEO, works hard on that, along with members of the foundation, but we'll need all the help we can get, that we can bring to bear to get more doctors. So thank you for bringing that up. Councillor Ford?
Thanks, Your Worship. Councillor Clark stole my playoff plug, so I'm going to skip that one. I had a couple inquiries over the weekend about cats roaming around in town and getting into people's garbages, and a lot of the complaints were actually about people who said they found collars on these cats and everything else. And just a reminder that if your cat is picked up and taken to the Humane Society, you will be facing a charge to get your cat out, whether it's registered or not, I believe. And so just make sure you're keeping track of your cats and where they are and everything else, and maybe just keep track of them. The next one was actually, it's actually been 2 Facebook complaints, and this is for the city manager regarding the tip jar at Affinity Place and how those tips were decided to be given as donations. If you just want to touch on that, city manager, please.
Thank you, Councillor Ford. So this was brought up by the union, and it was related to how staffing was happening in the lounge, and that some people were being received as having a benefit over other employees that didn't get the shift. So I think they decided as a group that they would collect those tips and that they would provide it to some sort of initiative.
Yep.
I believe that the Humane Society has been used, as well as, what was the last one that was?
Yeah, it's been, yeah,
Yeah, the warm welcome
yeah,
kitchen.
that's right.
So that was decided among the staff to keep that there. There was a discussion about getting rid of the tip jar altogether, but they thought that by putting it into a good initiative in the city, it would be best for everybody.
Thank you, and I think it's a great thing that they've decided to give back to their community. So if everyone wants to keep tipping and giving back to your community, that's great.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Councillor Ford, for clarifying that, because I know social media was rampant, and of course, it's always the city's fault. But thank you, City Manager, for clarifying that. Councillor Cernak.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had to echo, I had numerous compliments on the lights of Infinity Place. And I was just kind of wondering, was it just kind of a simple as a light change or a light bulb change? And
Yes, I can speak to that, Councillor Shinnick. So there was a ballast changes in some of them that needed it. They were T5 fluorescent bulbs that were put in, but they do have a 5,000 K brightness rating compared to the old ones that were 4,100, and raised the light level from 35-foot candles to 75-foot candles. So significant improvement in the lighting in the arena.
Absolutely, and again, we thank our staff for that job. Okay, thank you, Councillor Cernick. Councillor Frank?
Nothing this evening, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. City Manager?
Nothing to add, Your Worship.
City Clerk?
Nothing, Your Worship.
City Treasurer? Nothing, Your Worship. Okay, well, we have an exciting weekend coming up. We've got the curling with our council girls. We have to go there and cheer them on, and hopefully we'll get good attendance. And we've got the Bruin playoffs, so. And the Humane Society, thank you. Yes, the Whiskers, what do they call it, Whiskers and Wine?
Whiskers and Wine Gala.
Absolutely, so.
That was actually the last update. Sorry, the last update I seen, there was only a few tables left, so if you're thinking about it, you better get on it.
Absolutely, and that's always a lot of fun, so please get your spouse or better half or girlfriend or boyfriend and show up. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay, thank you for that. I didn't have anything else, so I know City Clerk's looking at me like I did have something else, but.
You want to explain the pin you're wearing?
Oh, the pin, thank you. We had asked the City Clerk to go out and get us a symbol for the horrible things that are happening in the Ukraine. So all of us are wearing, and thank you, City Clerk, the flag of Ukraine is yellow and blue. So we're all wearing a ribbon, and we will continue to wear that until this horrible event hopefully ends sooner than later. But yeah, very tragic. So our hearts and prayers go out to the people in the Ukraine, and hopefully this horrible invasion will end soon. So with that, could we have a motion, please, to move into committee? Thank you, Councillor Cernick. Seconded by Councillor Ford. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Good evening, and we stand adjourned.